Hey, welcome to Frisky Biscuit. I'm Dr. G with my cohort.
It's Lisa.
And she's here with us, and we are ripping and raring to go with another program for you. And boy, we have someone interesting for you to listen to today. We have advice from a newbie. We have Kelly Dawson going to be on with us with an interview. She's a brand new RVer, but been a tent camper and has some words about converting from tenting to RVing. So that's going to be coming up pretty soon. And in the meantime, we got some pretty interesting topics Lisa's been researching. And what do we have on store for today?
Well, I thought we'd start with the national parks because it is the big anniversary of Yellowstone this year. And, the communities that are near the national parks are really contributing a lot. The people that are traveling and spending in the communities, they put in $42.5 billion into the economy. So, you can't say the campers aren't contributing. I mean, there's huge amounts of money that are being established into the economy.
I gotta ask you a question. You keep looking up, your camera's down here on the bottom.
I know, there's one over there too.
The red light's always on that camera.
Yeah. We're still in training here.
People are going to think you're bird watching. Anyway, I have to give her a hard time because, believe me, when we're not here, she gives me a hard time. So go ahead. And this is all fairly new to me. Dr. G over here, and we have Gary with us today. We have Dr. G and his bobblehead, Gary. She was so brave to make a bobblehead doll of me. Thank you so much.
It was quite an experience.
I'm memorialized with a bobblehead now.
Yes, you are. Little old Gary. Anyway, visitors
national parks
spend a ton of money. Just the camping sector alone is $490 million. And they say, RV sales are going down 30% this year. However, that's nothing. I mean, you look at Camping World, they went up 300%. So going down 30 is not that big a deal. And even Thor Industries, they're making over $300 million today in today's world. So going down 30% actually is pretty good for us. There's more inventory to choose from, those that want to get into the camping sector. And all those parts that we've been waiting for, they're here. They finally got here. Well, that's very interesting. This is called what I call fear porn when they start talking like that, because the RV business, they've been crying and whining because they can't keep up. And now they're whining because they're 30% off. What did they expect? They couldn't stay up there the entire time. No. And that was the pandemic, 2020 and 2021. 2022, it's going down. But, there's a lot of people getting out of it because of the fuel cost. Also, they're not traveling as much because the flights to Europe are fairly inexpensive. All the people I know this year that aren't necessarily campers or didn't want to go camping this year went to Mexico. There's killer deals in Mexico. You get a chance to fly down there. They pick you up. You stay in a resort. It's kind of like a cruise ship on land. Everything's included. Lots of meals, lots of entertainment, beautiful water, beautiful snorkeling. You don't even have to leave. Most the people I know, they didn't leave. They just went for a week. You're starting
to sound like a travel agent that you used to be.
I know. Well, I'm just kind of looking at the statistics, and we met a couple this week that we went to the gas station and we thought, okay, we're going to interview these people about the price of gas, right? And the price of petrol and diesel. And it wasn't the best solution because people going and getting gas, they're busy. The truckers, they've been driving for 12 hours. They want to get their gas and go to sleep. The regular travelers, like one couple had hiked 50 miles and they couldn't even talk. One guy worked for the city and he didn't really want to be in camera. And this last couple, they were just a train wreck. They were from one of the cow states, California, Oregon, Washington. And they just complained about everything. It's like, why are you camping? And why do you have an RV if you're going to complain? I mean, this is like the most beautiful thing you can do is get out on the road and get some fresh air. I mean, what was your take on them? Well, I just thought that they probably shouldn't be RVing. They're kind of grumpy and pissed off about everything, and
they hated their rig.
They hated their rig, and they went and bought it and test drove it and bought this pretty little Jayco motorhome, and then they were complaining about it. And the funniest thing they said, though, is they could have flown somewhere a lot cheaper than it was to RV there.
Yeah.
Well, the point of it is, as far as I'm concerned, if you're going to RV, you're RVing to RV. It's the journey, it's the experience, and the camping and the fun of it and the driving. And it's not necessarily economical, but if you're driving an RV to use as transportation, I would say that's not a very bright choice for an automobile. So I think they'd be better off to get out of the RV business and go do something that they like drive a Honda Civic somewhere.
Yeah, and if you added up the cost of your rig, the fuel prices, but then the price of hotels, eating out, all of those things, I bet you if you did a study, it would end up being about the same.
It's probably going to balance itself out.
Yeah. The thing about camping is the people and having fun and, getting out of your own comfort zone.
The thing, if you stop and think about that, though, the price of motels right now, like Motel 6 is what, $150?
Yes.
And I remember when it used to be $6.
I know.
And it's a 2-star hotel, but hotels are $300-$400 a night now.
I know.
So I think it could be probably more inexpensive to buy an RV and travel that way, and a hell of a lot more fun.
And it's so much more easy.
Totally.
I mean, you don't have to stuff everything into a suitcase. You got your luxurious bed and pillows, and you can go to these beautiful parks like Yellowstone and Tetons. However, nowadays, they just implemented the mask mandate again. So if you're going to Yellowstone or Tetons, grab that mask, which is kind of ridiculous. The statistics are showing 53 out of 100,000 people, and they're saying that's a lot. And everybody I know already had COVID. So I'm going to
editorialize. I think that's about the dumbest thing I've ever heard of, this mask thing. It's been proven to be unhealthy for you. And then out there in the beautiful wide open spaces, then they have you wearing a mask. So that's
well, it's only indoors, right?
Makes you wonder again who makes these rules, and we have to start paying attention to that and make some changes.
Yes, especially in
I'm going
the
political. I can tell I'm going political again.
Well, you get into California, it is political. You look at Yosemite, one of the most beautiful places on the planet, one of our very first national parks, is on fire. I mean, there is 1,190 acres. It's 0% contained, and there's over 500 firefighters. And I send my prayers out to those guys because they're fighting this fire. They're starting to evacuate, and it's going after the big trees, some of the largest trees on this planet. And why do you think? They just aren't spending the money to take care of their environment.
They're not taking care of the forest. They're not managing the water down there in California like they could. But again, I'm going political, and we're not going to be doing that. So anyway.
Well, let's switch gears then. If you're traveling and you're stopping at a Flying J, which is one of the most popular places to fuel up, they now have an exclusive women's clothing line by Buffalo Outfitters and Outdoors. So there's over 200 Pilot and Flying J's that are now carrying this. Now, I haven't seen the clothing myself, but this was the description: tie-dye bucket hats.
That just sounds terrible to me.
I just don't know about this.
I don't know.
Joggers, pullovers, tank tops, graphic tees. No RV-related stuff. If you want cool RV-related stuff, you can go to our website, Frisky-Biscuit.
A cheap plug there.
Yeah. I mean, we have cool hats and cool T-shirts, but I'm not so sure how cool this is. So if you're out there and you're stopping at a Pilot or a Flying J, let us know what you think about their new gear, because it's a new line that they just put in.
And be gentle. One thing about us is that you can always count on Frisky Biscuits as a cheap plug for themselves.
Yes, you can. Frisky-biscuit.com. And make sure you thumb it up on our YouTube channel, okay?
Exactly. The idea of like Flying J developing their own clothing, though, what would that, you think they have the Flying J logo on there or something? We haven't seen any of this stuff, so.
My take on it was there's a lot of truckers and commuters that stop to get a cup of coffee, stop to fuel up. and maybe they forgot their pants.
That makes total sense because
forgot a shirt.
I've driven down the road and often thought like, wow, I wish I could stop someplace, get some gas, and buy myself a rainbow tie-dyed hat.
I know, me too. It's a thing these days.
Never had that thought, but maybe we're missing something. Anyway, we're digressing here.
Yeah, let's move on. How about, I did learn something this week. I read a lot of these newsletters and I do a lot of research, and I learned something about the refrigerators because I knew you're not supposed to plug in your refrigerator when you're on a hill. However, I'm not really a gear queer person, so I didn't really understand why. So I understand now that there's coils in the back of the refrigerator. Did you just
say what I thought you said?
What?
Gear queer?
Gear queer, yeah. I mean, it has a regular refrigerator is so different than an RV refrigerator.
Also, you can also realize we are never politically correct here. You can count on it from Frisky Biscuit.
Why? Because I called them queers.
Oh, man. We're getting off to a roaring start here today. Anyway.
Okay, so refrigerators. Let's get back to that.
Nothing's more complicated than a RV refrigerator.
I know.
I'm telling you what, airplanes and jets and spaceships have nothing on an RV refrigerator. And most people just think they're like a regular refrigerator.
Well, they're not. They have all these coils in the back, and they have to be on a flat surface in order to cool properly, because part of it will get hot, part of it will get cold. So I kind of knew that part, and I knew that you were supposed to get your food cold before you, because it's really difficult on the refrigerator to cool down all your food. So cool it down in your home and then put it in your RV, or get it in the store and then put it in your RV. But there's a few things I didn't know. One is, well, I did know this, not to pack it fully because it has to have air circulating. Some of the newer ones already have fans in them, so the air is circulating. But you want to have around the perimeter of your refrigerator inside enough room for that air to circulate so it can cool it down. But there's two big things I didn't know is, on your regular refrigerator where you put your pickles and all the heavy stuff on the shelves on the door, that's the worst thing you can do in an RV, because if you think about it, you're this earthquake going down the road, right? And you've got the heavy stuff on the door, it's going to jar the door. And the most important things on the refrigerator are those seals. And a way to test the seals is you put $1 bill in, and if you can pull it out really easily, you may want to check the rubber on your seals and make sure you also lube the seals on your refrigerator.
Because that means you're losing air.
Yeah. And if you're losing air, then your refrigerator's working harder and harder, and it's not getting your food cold under 40 degrees.
One of the habits we do have is, I know might sound kind of boring, but if you really think about this, even at home, I notice our refrigerator, after you mentioned that when you're looking at this stuff, we all put those bottles and stuff in the door. And even on our refrigerator here at home, that bottom shelf is broken off of there because of the weight of the bottles.
Yes, because we're all conditioned to put...
So why the hell do they put the bottle holders in the door?
Good question. Maybe we'll work on that. Find out from our manufacturers.
We need the president to work on problems like that.
Yes. Detract him a little bit more.
Anyway, moving on.
So did you know one of my favorite people, you can actually stay, she's a star, and you know her. She had a custom bus, and she toured the United States from 2008 to March of 2022. So just this year, what's that, 14 years?
Yeah. In
this bus. And now you can go and stay in Dolly Parton's bus in Pigeon Forge.
The tour bus.
Tennessee, yep.
So it's just kind of parked there like a big hotel room, huh?
Yeah. And
that's actually kind of cool.
360,000 miles. She has a whole closet now. They put hats in there, but that's where her wigs were. Her bedroom, the walls are painted purple. The bed is purple. And you get some special gifts and a VIP dinner by staying there in her van. A lot of upgrades. One of the upgrades is a bathtub. I mean, I've never seen a bathtub.
What kind of
RV.
a bus is this? Is this one of those big Prevost Canadian built?
It is. It's a Prevost bus, and it's a 1986. So I love Dolly Parton too. She doesn't go flaunt money around.
Right.
You know, they went from traveling in 2008, but they have a 1986 bus.
Right.
So that's really cool.
Of course, those buses are a couple $1 million a piece. They're like airplanes.
Yeah. Well, no wonder although all the money goes to her foundation and it goes to her imagination library. So that's pretty good. What do you think it would cost?
Well,
It's a 2-night stay now. You
they
get
rent
2
RVs,
nights, and
you
you
know.
get dinner.
RVs rent, anywhere from $180, $200 a night to up to probably $500, $600 a night. So I'd say, since it's Dolly Parton's bus, probably $1,000 a night.
$10,000 for a 2-night stay. However, you do get dinner and you get some extra special things.
Slightly out of my budget. Yeah, that's a different pay grade for me. I guess I'll just go ahead and stay in our leisure travel van.
Yeah, well, that's nice. Well, Dolly, one of her quotes was, "I have homes all over the United States, but my favorite place is the bus because that way I can feel those wheels rolling." So
it's
true for us.
That is the
too.
attraction. That is a lot of the attraction of this is that. And
there's nothing like sitting in the seat and seeing the scenery go by and other vehicles go by.
no, it's a different thing. It sounds, for those of you who've never done this, you think, oh, how stupid is that? These big old boxy things that are just a pain in the neck on the road, and they're out there boxing up the roads. But you get in one of these and start driving and traveling and knowing you're going to stay at a certain place each night. It is fun. It's more fun than anything I've ever done.
And I love to see that the population that's getting into it now are in their 30s and 40s, and the 50-year-olds like Kelly that tent camped her whole life and then had some back injuries and ended up having to go into, if she wanted to go camping, to get something where she's off the ground. And so
Right.
she's learned a lot. She thought she was pretty savvy in her camping experiences, which she is. However, once she get the wheels a rolling and the motorized part of it, it's a whole different experience.
So speaking of Kelly, why don't we go ahead and go to that interview you did? One of the things I want to clarify here is we do realize we were having some equipment issues and line issues. So the mic is not as good as we want it to be. We're working on that. So I'm saying this for my grandson. We know we can improve upon our interview quality of the mic, but you get the point and you can hear it. And this is Kelly Dawson talking to Lisa. And she's a newbie, hasn't been doing this very long, and she's converted from tenting to RVing. So, Kelly Dawson.
Welcome to the Frisky Biscuit podcast, and today we have Kelly Dawson with us. Kelly started out as a tent camper, bought a towable, and is now remodeling it. So we're going to talk today about your transition from tent camping to what it's like to actually have a towable. So Kelly, welcome today to the podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. Well, tell us why did you decide to change from being a tent camper to buying a towable?
It was predominantly, actually the deciding factor was getting me off the ground. I had back surgery in 2019. So getting me off of the ground and onto a bed, that was the driving factor in going from tent camping to pop-up camping, or we have a pop-up camper. Yeah.
So are you camping more now that you have your towable?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's just so much more convenient. Yeah. I mean, usually like with tent camping, we've all experienced, the corner or area in our garage where you have all your bins and your tent and your sleeping bags and everything's in a bin. It's taking up space in your garage. And then you have to take all of that and you have to somehow, it's like Jenga. You have to figure out how to put it all in the car without everything falling over. And then unload everything and then put everything back. And it's just such a pain. But with tent camping, or not tent camping, pop-up camping or trailer camping, you can just put it all in you just keep it stored in your trailer. It's awesome. Doesn't take up any more space. I mean,
And it
your
probably
pocket
saves a
takes
lot of time, right? So, because you're not constantly unloading and loading.
Absolutely. And you're not forgetting things, I mean, at first you do when you're figuring things out, you forget little things like, oh, dang it, I forgot a pair of scissors. But okay, you have a knife. You just write a little list of all the things you want to add to your camping kit when you get home. I don't know. It's just so much easier and more enjoyable because of it.
And was it difficult learning how to back up and derive a towable?
Yeah, I have not mastered that art yet. My husband has. My dad made sure there was a very large parking lot available to us to where we could practice. It's just not intuitive at all. He made it very simple. My dad's really good at doing that. He made it very simple. He's like, if you want to go left, put your hand to the left. If you want to go right, put your hand to the right. Just keep it at the bottom of the steering wheel. My husband, he's mastered it. Me, not so much. So my husband does the driving. It's beautiful. I'm along for the ride and I get to enjoy the scenery.
And when we were talking a few minutes ago, you were saying that you're actually remodeling your towable now. What's that like? What made you decide to do that?
It's great. I mean, you want everything to have your own personal styling to it. And for us, we like color green and we like color red. We just like them together at Christmas, not all the time. So when you go into our pop-up, when we first got it, it looked like Christmas threw up everywhere. And I'm not one that's going to like throw things away just because I don't like that stuff. I'll just find a way to work around it and make it my own. So I painted the cabinets white. I took 3 coats and it wasn't fun. I'd rather paint a huge wall or a ceiling, but painting inside the trailer, it's not very fun. Took 3 coats. And then the mattresses on either side, they were this, it's actually a nice cranberry red color. But again, it was just kind of dark and I wanted everything light and airy. So I bought fitted sheets to go over that. And then the dinette cushions, the back cushions and the seat cushions. Ironically, king sheets fit over those beautifully. And what's nice is you can just pull all of it off, pop it in the washer and put it back on. It's great. And if I decide I want to update my colors, my pop colors or whatever, I can just buy different pillowcases.
So it's like remodeling a house, just in a smaller level of it.
It is, absolutely. Tomorrow morning, we're getting ready to put LVP, like peel and stick LVP on the floor. It's going to look really nice. It's going to cover the current linoleum that's there. And then next weekend, we're going to completely repaint the exterior. And then I have a Cricut machine. So I'm going to get some mountains and trees and just kind of make some nice stickers for the outside of it.
And how far do you go with your camper? Have you taken it, to another state? Do you stay close to home? What's your game plan with it?
Right now, a couple of reasons. Right now, we're sticking close to home because we have a very old dog. He's 16 years old. And, we're just kind of following his lead in life right now. So we want to stick closer to home and close to resources. So right now we're going, I think it's probably like an hour and 20 minutes from our place. And it's super convenient. And then it also gives us an opportunity to just kind of like, trial and error. So if we get stuck in a situation, we're not too far from home. However, we are going to end up, going a little farther. We're getting a little braver as time goes on, getting some, trial and error situations worked out. So yeah, we'll be.
You said something you just said was trial and error. Have you had a few errors being a newbie with a trailer? Yeah. Do you care to share any with us?
You can blur my face. I'm just going to assume that everybody has made these mistakes. So there's 2 stories I can tell you. One, it has to do with the hitch and the receiver. You put the receiver into the hitch and there's the hole that the pin goes through. It's very important you make sure that pin goes through the hole, the hitch and the receiver. And then you want to really give it a good tug. We did not do that one time. And when we turned a corner, all of a sudden the trailer popped, or the hitch popped out of the receiver, and the trailer was just kind of coasting behind our car. Thank goodness we were in a neighborhood. We've scarred that street for life. We've definitely put our mark on it. But what we did is we put the pin in before. We didn't put the pin into to the hitch. We just put it in through the receiver. So it stopped right here. Here's the pin. And then the trailer popped. Then the trailer popped out.
Was there any onlookers?
Oh yeah, we had so many witnesses. Yeah, it was for good free entertainment for these people. We had rookie written all over us. Number one,
we're telling all of us have gone through that before. There's always the rookie moments. And I think those are the things that we all make these mistakes. Yet, if we're smart, we only make them once. And then there's another mistake. But it's fun to hear people's mistakes, so maybe we won't make the same ones.
Right. And I mean, it made us look extra bad because we're pulling the trailer with a Kia Soul, which is not normal. I don't know that I've ever seen it here. They do it all the time in Europe, but not here. So, yeah, we've since upgraded to a 4Runner. So
the safe face.
Yeah, we have a little more confidence.
Now, you said you had 2 stories. Are you willing to share the other story?
So the other story is, so we went camping and it was really rainy. And when we've heard with a pop-up, you want to come home and you just want to air it out. So we got home from camping, parked it in the driveway or parked it in the garage and just popped it open, came inside and called it good. Well, a couple days later, I decided I wanted to paint the inside of the camper. So in order to do that, we had to go out to the camper, take everything out and get it all ready to paint. So we did that. And my husband came out and helped me. I got in and I was looking around, just kind of surveying the area, make sure I didn't miss anything. And the Coleman stove was still down below. So I grabbed the Coleman stove and I went to go put it on the bed. And when I put it on the bed, I just kind of stumbled a little because there's like this space where it goes up, like it slants up, and then it's like the hard wall and then the bed. Well, I kind of stumbled a little bit and braced myself on the bed. But when I did that, I started getting really disoriented and just had this feeling come about me. And then all of a sudden, it's like I just felt like the whole room was going like this. So I got real. Yeah. So I'm like, am I passing out? What's happening? Like, what is happening to me? So I got really low to the ground in like this Tai Chi low squat stance. And my arms are out, like balanced. And then the whole thing kind of goes like that. And I realized in that moment that the trailer completely tipped. So I got even lower in my stance because I'm like, okay, if I get really low in my squat stance, I'm not going to have far to fall. But then I didn't know what to do because I knew if I stood up and went this way, the whole thing was going to go back. So I stood like this, holding a squat for a very long time, yelling for my husband who was outside. And then I got even to a deeper squat and just kind of shifted my weight and it slowly leveled out. And then I did like a Grinch step out the door and bolted inside and had a look of panic on my face. So he came out and he looked and we realized that we forgot when we put the trailer in the garage, we didn't put the stabilizers under the trailer, which is extremely important to keep it from tipping. Yeah, that was a good lesson. Yeah. So I got a good squat workout. I learned how to surf in a pop-up. I survived.
And now you said you go close to home. Do you expect to take some longer trips the more you get used to the camper?
Yeah. The more comfortable. We don't really like towing. You know, it makes sounds. And my dad says that you want to hear those sounds. It's a sign that your trailer's still attached, but we just can't seem to get used to it.
So do you think you'll upgrade into something different eventually?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Well, when we were talking earlier, you mentioned that when you retire and you get to that point, you'd like to just jump in and have a regular motorhome and go all over the country. That's still your plan?
I would love to do that. Yeah, we've talked about it for sure. I mean, that's probably 10 years down the road.
But
for
have
us,
you
that's
had
the goal.
any challenges with the gas prices the way they are right now? Is it keeping you closer to home?
Yeah, I think it would keep us. I mean, we're staying close to home anyway. But I think even if we felt more comfortable towing, it would definitely keep us closer to home. Yeah.
Have you had trouble finding any type of campsites?
No, because we haven't looked anywhere other than this place that we're going. It's kind of like we know what we're getting. So I booked all season there, and we're just going to continue all season there with Tucker, our dog, still with us. Because it's just easy. We know what we're getting. We know it's a quick ride home if we have to get home. So as of right now, we're sticking with that campsite.
That's really smart, because you've got a stable environment and you can work out all the kinks of learning how to camp with a towable and still be close to home. My hat's off to you on that one. That one's really smart.
Yeah, it's nice. And it's a nice spot. Again, it's a nice tip that my dad gave me, and he's probably, I don't know, 45-minute drive from there. So if you wanted to, you could come visit for the day, or yeah. It's good.
And our last question for you is, do you have any advice, being that you now remodeled your trailer and that you went from tent camping to towable, for somebody that's considering leaving behind their tent or just upgrading to something different? Do you have any advice for the younger generation or anybody that's in the same situation that you're in?
Well, what we're finding is with pop-ups specifically, they're a hot commodity, and people are really thirsty for them. There's a big appetite. So if you find one you like, obviously don't overpay for it, but if you find one you like, you're going to want to make a quick decision. So do your homework, do some research before you go and look at it as to, what do I need to look for? What do I need to watch out for? Because a lot of times people spend some good money on pop-ups and then they'll get it home and realize that the roof is rotting.
Oh.
And, it's kind of like a lipstick on a pig situation, where it's like they've fixed it so you can't see it and it looks pretty solid. And then, then you just find out there's wood rot in the roof, wood rot on the floor. So look for soft spots, if there's mold in it, ask them how the mold got there. I mean, there's a lot of things where you can get mold out. Definitely look at the canvas if you're buying a pop-up, make sure it's been well cared for. Yeah. Is
there anything in your camper that you just love that had it was already included in it?
Well, with our camper, they actually took everything heavy out of it. So they took the stove out, they took the refrigerator out, they took the sink out. So, which is kind of what made it appealing for us, because at the time we only had a Kia Soul and we needed something light. So taking all of that stuff out changed the weight from being, like a 1,500-pound trailer down to like 1,100 pounds. So for us, that was appealing. I wished it had an AC unit. I wished it did still have the sink. Actually, more than the sink, I wished it still had the refrigerator. Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on and taking the time and explaining your journey on camping. And I suspect that it may encourage others to go ahead and get out there, whether there's gas prices, whether there's camping challenges, is just to go and to go find a towable or a motorhome and go and get out there.
Go, get out there. Adventure awaits.
Yes. So thank you for coming on Frisky Biscuit. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
And we do thank you, Kelly, for your information and willingness to share your stories with us. We've all got stories like that. I tell you, the shame of dragging a sewer pipe down the road, many people will have that experience. And of course, losing a trailer because you didn't get the pin in there is not that uncommon. So glad no one was hurt. And
putting the jacks down does make for a stable environment when you're walking around inside.
I just have this picture in my mind of her standing there really low with her hands out, just trying to balance this thing and not flying out the window.
That's pretty funny.
You know, that's a big thing now, is to buy these older RVs, towables, and remodel them. I mean, it's getting more and more difficult to find the older homes and the older RVs and towables because it's becoming a trend. It's almost easier to buy a new one now than it is to remodel an old one.
There's some people that are remodeling these that are just amazing looking. You know, we have pictures on our YouTube channel of Kelly's remodel of hers, and it's pretty amazing. It looks brand new, and it's very modern looking and clean and cool colors. And so
I don't blame her for getting rid of the red and green, having Christmas around all the time.
Well, there was a time that was trendy.
That's true. What, back in the 70s? Or was that orange?
I'm not sure how old her little towable is, but it sure does look cool now. And like she said, they are a hot commodity because they're very inexpensive to get into. But we're seeing prices. I've even seen prices on used small towables like she's got now, up to $10,000 just for a used one.
Yeah, and it doesn't take as much gas to pull a towable than it does to go into a motorhome. Yeah. And like she said, she started with a Kia Soul. So there's no reason, if you have a small car, that you can't do it. You just have to put, I think the most expensive thing is to put the hitch on the back, which is going to be $500 or $600. It's not that easy. Somebody has to put it on for you. They actually attach it to the frame of the car. Then you can grab and go.
And, you know, the whole thing is go. Get out there, have some fun, make this happen, and enjoy yourself. Because, like I said, camping sounds, to those who aren't doing it, sounds kind of mundane. It's very plain, very simple, because it's been around forever, right? I mean, the first people on Earth were campers.
That's true. And they ate pretty simply.
Yeah, but the thing of it is, with all this beautiful equipment now, I look at the machine that we have. We brag about it. We have a leisure travel van, probably not the cheapest entry level that you could get into, but man, it is nice. It is beautiful, and there are so many of them out there now. Just the Mercedes class, Sprinter class vans, they'll do everything. And they're completely boondockable now, which you can be totally off the grid with one of these things now.
Yeah, the batteries are, more and more people are getting lithium batteries, they're getting solar panels and able to boondock. In fact, some of the boondock places are starting to look like campgrounds. So everybody's going to them.
I know. That is one of the problems. And some of the campgrounds are beginning to look like trailer parks.
They're building more and more campgrounds, though. And some of the mom and pops are getting out of the campgrounds. They've done it for so long. They've just decided, okay, let's sell to these larger companies that are coming in and buying up. And even towns are getting into it now. They're taking, I was just reading one of the airports. They're putting a 65 RV park at the airport itself, and it's very luxurious. I want to say it's got to be California. I'm not quite sure
why someone would want to be parked at an airport with all that noise. But,
I know. It didn't make any sense. It just was interesting that towns are getting into it. Airports are getting into it. So it is still a big rage.
Right. Well, we're going to be getting ready to get out of here, but before we do, let's talk a little bit about how we finance this. By Moose Eye Grantology.
Yeah, Moose Eye Grantology is my company that I put together to help nonprofits, because there's a lot of nonprofits that have missions that want to accomplish their missions. However, they don't have enough funds in order to do it. So if you've been an organization established for more than 3 years and have great paper trail and paperwork to show the establishment of your organization, there's a really good chance that we can find you a grant to help with your mission. The trick to supplying grants for the organization is make sure that your board is set up properly, that you have proper documentation, that the grant is written in a specific way. It's not just what you've learned in college writing. It's a very different writing style. And to make sure that your organization is paired with the proper funder, because funders have a specific niche that they're looking to fund. Also, the United States government still has an awful lot of grant funding. And if the grant funding does not get the proper paperwork in, the money all goes back to the Treasury. So the money's out there. It's just writing it properly. If you require some help, go to our website, which is moosaigrantology.com. Give me a shout out and we'll get together and we'll talk about your organization and see what we can do for you.
Well said. And she does a great job. So give her a shot if you're in that situation where your organization requires funding, if it's a nonprofit. Also, before we close out here, let's talk about the excitement that is building on the street that Frisky Biscuit is going to be seen in local theaters.
Yes.
Before the movie.
Before the movie. We are starting on the 24th of July. It'll run for a year. We'll have 4 different ads that will run. You can actually preview and see the ads on our YouTube channel, Frisky Biscuit Podcast on YouTube. So we're really excited about that. The amount of people that go to the movies, and it runs on every single theater, which is really cool.
That's cool.
The Idaho area.
And it's regionalized, so you're going to be seeing us probably all across the country eventually with Frisky Biscuit, just a little promo inside the the theater. But also check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Google. Everywhere podcasts are played is where we are now. And we so appreciate comments and feedback on what we're doing here because, when you're doing this, it's all going out, and when you don't hear anything back, you're not sure if anybody's receiving it or not. It's like having a phone call and nobody ever talks. So,
although we're getting a lot of downloads,
we are getting a lot of downloads
now, and I know people are listening. So it'd be great to comment. The best place to comment is on YouTube because it's got the platform there. So just let us know what you want, and let us know what you want to hear.
So until next time, this is Dr. G
and Lisa.
Wishing you a very great week. And remember, we post this usually no later than Monday morning. So keep in touch with us, comment, like, and subscribe on YouTube. And until next time, wishing you a great week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.